Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. The SCO is part of the multinational platform where India shares the stage with region and global powers. Now, right before the SCO summit, Prime Minister Modi held a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, which lasted an hour. Now, this is only the second bilateral meet between the two leaders since last year's Kazan BRICS summit. Prime Minister Modi said that an agreement was reached between the two countries to continue the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage and that direct flights will also be resumed.
हमारी बहुत ही सार्थक चर्चा हुई। हमारे संबंधों को एक सकारात्मक दिशा मिली। सीमा पर डिसएग्रीमेंट के बाद शांति और स्थिरता का माहौल बना हुआ। हमारे स्पेशल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स के बीच बॉर्डर मैनेजमेंट के संबंध में सहमति बनी।
Earlier, Xi Jinping also had bilateral meetings with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Moldavian President Mohammad Muizzu. Now, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also arrived in Tianjin city in North China on Saturday evening. Following the SCO summit, Sharif will leave for Beijing to attend China's Victory Day commemorations on September 3rd. Iranian President Putin-Pezeshkian, who is currently in Tianjin, is set to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ahead of the meet, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei termed both Iran and China as ancient civilizations, serving as the eastern and western wings of Asia. Iran became member of the SCO in 2023. Shortly afterward, it also joined BRICS, a grouping of major emerging market economies. By joining the two organizations, Iran is pursuing cordial ties with Russia and China. Now, the guest list for the SCO summit includes leaders of the organization's 10 member states, along with representatives from almost 24 other countries. Some countries that are not SCO members will also be represented, including Laos, Malaysia and Vietnam. And for more, joining us now on the broadcast is Dr. Syed Imamian from Tehran. He's an assistant professor at Tehran Polytechnic, founder and former director of the Governance and Policy think tank. Thank you so much, Dr. Imamian, for making time for us and joining us on the broadcast.
My pleasure.
Dr. Imamian, Iran is now a core member of the SCO. How does it look at the tariff tensions between India, China and the Trump administration?
Actually, we are living in a very chaotic and transitional period of international order. The previous international order led by the US has been shaken particularly by the Trump's isolationist and exclusivism that we have witnessed in last few months. Of course, in the first, his administration, he started such kind of the ideas, but now it has been very much weaponized by his transactional and particularly by tariff policy. Even traditionally, US allies and some important countries, emerging economies like India, that has been in a very good political relation with US and for last several years, they have been shocked by the Trump's, as I said, isolationist approach. That it's very much in favor of the unilateralism rather than the multilateralism, that it's something very much favored by emerging economies like China and India. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a framework, a more inclusive framework and less ideologically biased framework for an emerging international order. It's very interesting that, in my view, SCO now is playing a role of stabilizing force rather than previously convinced or previously understood as a noise for international order that was led by the US. No, the SCO is going to be a very important collective framework to stabilize emerging international order around the concept of multilateralism. Iran's membership in both SCO and BRICS has created such an opportunity for Iran as like other developing emerging economies to be much more actively involved in international cooperative framework rather than traditional frameworks led by Western powers, particularly by the US, that they have been, almost all of them, they have been very exclusive and ideologically biased. I was just reading an article from a Chinese intellectual and think tanker today that he was saying that every time that, for example, G7 cooperation framework has been talking about the dichotomy between democracy and autocracy. Such kind of the ideological bias has created a kind of the exclusivism for the Western-led kind of the cooperation frameworks. But SCO and BRICS could be much more open, inclusive, and diversified. And Iran thinks about those frameworks as an opportunity for a collective force towards a new international order.
Absolutely,
that is going
Dr.
to be much more
Imamian.
multilateral.
And you rightly pointed out the world as we know it and the world order as we know it is definitely in a state of flux. And the SCO could actually become a stabilizing force, as you mentioned. But now with the European leaders triggering the snapback sanctions on Iran, how do you think that issue is going to be raised by Tehran at the SCO summit?
First of all, as far as I know, I'm not representing the government, but as far as I know, Iranian policymakers, they are thinking about the particularly Security Council sanctions as something that if they are going to use Europeans and particularly by the support of the US is going to trigger the snapback mechanism, it is not going to be legally legitimized. And I think there is an opportunity for Iran to create such kind of the common ideas or common stance within the developing countries that they are going to counter such kind of the reversing of the sanctions that has been lifted 10 years ago. It has been said by the Russia and China very clearly that they are not going to see about the return of the sanction as a legitimized mechanism. So I think Iran is looking for such kind of the collective support from SCO, exactly similar to what happened during the 12 days imposed war by Israel, that SCO came to a kind of the collecting position and stance to condemn Israel's aggression. We know that unfortunately India disassociates itself from that common stance. But at the end of the day, SCO was very clear and I think to some extent very important in terms of having a kind of the collective stance against unilateralism that has been always led by US and Western powers. So the sanctions, unilateral sanctions or returning of the Security Council sanctions is something that Iran is going to look for much more supportive stance from SCO member states.
Absolutely. And Dr. Imamian, having said that, how do you see the multilateral platform like the SCO summit, which upholds the voice of the global south in today's times? What kind of impact can that have?
As I said, actually, with regards to the current US isolationist kind of the approach, the new emerging coalition frameworks like SCO, they are thinking about current situation as a very unique opportunity for them to fill the gap of the US exclusivism and unilateralism. So before that, in last few years, once US was very much active in creating international platforms and cooperation frameworks by its leadership, it was very difficult for frameworks like SCO or BRICS to find some open spaces to institutionalize themselves. But at the moment, it's very important, I think, opportunity for them to elevate their position as an inclusive framework, as a real alternative for a traditionally US and Western-led kind of the framework. So I think we are in very transitional and chaotic period of time that an emerging international order, maybe by very important role of a new framework like SCO and BRICS, would happen in next few years.
Absolutely, Dr. Imam, those are some very valid points there. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your valuable perspective with us.
Thank you very much.